Welcome back to part two with CEO of the IMI, Steve Nash. Thank you for joining us again, Steve.
Delighted. It's fun.
I'm going to bring things to digital because I just think this is a huge area now going forward. It's the place we're realizing that now. So a bit of kind of the digital opportunities with Steve Nash, if you like. And I do have a question for you, if I could. Are you digitally savvy, Steve?
Yeah, reasonably digitally savvy. I mean, you're always conscious of the fact that some of the people who work for you kind of embarrass you with their dexterity and their knowledge, but I'm very open to it. You know what I mean? I believe in embracing it.
A little birdie told me that you've only just started using Zoom. Is that right?
Yeah, not as an organisation. Our external teams were using Zoom before the lockdown, but I hadn't used it prior to that. I'm a total convert now, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, these days we're using it both for work and social interactions, you know, and actually you realise how good these platforms are. But yeah, I freely admit I'm quite new to it.
I think a lot of people are. This digital world has been thrown on a lot of people and businesses in quite an extreme way, I think. So digital is probably the most exciting area, in my opinion. It's in a dealership setting. I think it's both brought more and more attention to the online forecourts.
Yeah.
So with this kind of sudden shift to dealerships having to embrace it, I think two things are happening. One, dealerships are realizing that their responses and how they appear online is more important. So for example, they've got that analogy in the trade, haven't they, of straight lines sell cars, which I think is now going to be more a fully functioning website sells cars. As we go forward. But also it's opened the conversation of remote working. So from your perspective, how do you think this new digital landscape is going to affect businesses as we move forward?
You know, in my kind of long experience of working with dealer bodies, you always have a small number of dealers who you learn from because they think of things before you do. And you have another body of dealers who are early adopters, quick adopters. You have another lot who kind of sit in the middle, are open to it, but take a bit of time getting there. And you have some that just, you know, take a long time or maybe never get there. You don't want to be in that back group. You really don't. Not everybody can be in that kind of bleeding edge group, but you've got to be very open to what you can learn from every situation. And, you know, I think some of the old adages that we've lived by in the sales environment, you know, will be meaningless going forward.
The reason I'm so passionate about digital, I don't know if you know, but when I started in the trade 5 or so years ago, I came in and realized everything was very reactive. A customer walks in, you speak to them, a customer inquires online, you do that. But if it was quiet, there was, apart from picking up the phones and trying to cold call, there wasn't a great deal going on. Now, I've always liked marketing and I thought these would work together. So I started making videos. So on social media, we did something called Forecourt Fridays, where every Friday, the people who are following us knew that there was going to be a video from me and I was going to be showing you around the car, and it ended up snowballing into this thing where we had loads of people commenting and asking to see a certain model of the car in the next episode. So you had that engagement, and I thought, well, this is working in a video sense. So I started making videos. I wish I had the first ones I ever made because they would have been appalling. And I used to apply them to our listings on our website, our listings on Auto Trade, all these places. So it was kind of a standout. And I was that guy in the dealerships that everyone looked at and said, that's just not, it's weird. It's not what you should be doing. It's not how we do things. But over the years of using it, it ended up actually customers would get to know my face from the videos. We would stand out compared to someone that had something similar, same color, same model, price. And we had this video attached that showed me saying hello, introducing the dealerships, showing people around the car. If it was a 7-seater, for example, I'd go to the effort of spending a bit of time around the back of the car. It's where people want to see. And the value that was built, our leads started going up, which for me personally, that meant more sales because people were asking for me directly because they'd already kind of felt like they'd met me. So I was earning more. It then led to chances to implement these techniques across the dealerships and the networks. And I mean, led to this role with Caliber now. And now I get the chance to actually teach it to dealers. So for me, it's such an opportunity for anyone that's thinking innovatively. What have you seen over the years that you think that's a really good way of conducting business?
I think, Jacob, credit where it's due. I mean, I've sort of been a bit of a serial judge on various awards things. So, I mean, I've done the sort of AM, Automotive Management Awards for the last 6 or 7 years. Sabina and I do the See It Now Awards and things like that. And actually, what you've seen is I mean, some of the digital categories, so things like best website, and things like that. Sometimes you'd look and go, yeah, you got a website, great, thanks for getting with the program. Now, you're looking at actually, wow, some really forward-looking stuff. You look at how dealers are regularly communicating, got their own sort of online programs, if you like, of regular communication, product communication, that sort of thing. And then you look at some of the categories in the See It Now Awards, where you've got particularly the ones which are the sort of most innovative use of the platform, and some really, really great stuff. So people are, I've seen that sort of arc whereby people are embracing the digital more and more. And of course, again, it's a spread, isn't it? There are those people who are exceptionally good at it and have really invested in it. And they've got people like you working for them, that understand it and are therefore really embracing it. There are others that are more skeptical.
We've been looking at the UK's hospitality and tourism sector recently, and that area is really intriguing because there's going to be a huge number, I think, unfortunately, because of everything that's going on, that are going to become self-employed. But these are kind of the perfect people. One, they're generally slightly younger, so a bit more digital savvy in a lot of senses for this more modern way of thinking, but they already have the customer service skills. They're already customer facing a lot of the time. So I suppose it poses a question. Do you think actually we as an industry maybe should look to re-employ those people or try and nurture them? Because say they've got so many valuable skills and they might not have considered us as an industry, or we might not have considered looking for anyone that's not looking at us as an industry. But actually there's people in these other sectors that are coming on the market, and we could almost say, look at the opportunity you could have here, and your skills are so transferable.
We know it. We know that our problem is that we fish in a very small part of the pond. We're still massively biased towards men. It's getting better, but nowhere near as quickly as it should be. So the male-female balance in the industry is not where it should be at all. And frankly, it isn't necessarily that diverse either in other ways either. And we just can't afford to go on like that because we just keep buying ourselves the same problem. I mean, actually, the current generation coming through our schools, the so-called Generation Z, is numerically the smallest generation since the war. So by definition, every industry has a talent challenge because, we're all chasing a smaller group of people. So unless we're prepared to be very open in who we look at, whether it's getting women back into work and letting them job share and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Lots and lots of, but there shouldn't be any limitations. I mean, good people are lurking everywhere. It's just, you've got to open your eyes to find them. It's predicated on people looking at what's going on now and saying, how can that change the model in a positive way that actually enables us to attract people who otherwise wouldn't have looked at our industry.
Yeah, and it's opening our net and what we expect, and also maybe changing the functionalities and processes from within dealers, because I think we've got to remember the next wave of people coming into our industry, a lot of them were born sort of 2000 onwards, which not, it makes me feel slightly old actually. But it feels like a long time ago.
To find my birth date when I have to look down those
the scrolling and keep going. But these people that are coming through are pretty much being brought up with this digital mindset and knowledge. So I think as dealerships, they should maybe be and they've got to maybe consider how they can best embrace the change to bring these people in and keep them engaged, because not only from that side, a recruitment side, but also the next wave of customers that are going to be coming through are 2000 onwards. So they're used to, thanks to Amazon, one day click and collect. They're used to ordering more high ticket items just by watching something online and then going, yeah, that's fine, I'll order it. It's a completely different way of thinking to what we've been used to. So it's,
well, I mean, that's where our expectations are set, isn't it? You'll know way better than I do that people's patience with a website that doesn't work well is very, very thin, isn't it? So the minute that they do a couple of clicks and they don't quite get to where they want to be, they're gone, aren't they? And so you've really got to be, you've got to look to the likes of Amazon who lead the way, because I don't know about you, but I mean, the Amazon man's worn a groove in my path here over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And you know, that's the state of the art, isn't it? And unless that's where you're thinking, you know, if you're thinking way behind that kind of that standard and that pace, then you're just not with the program, you know. And I think that something that was a big point of debate in leading up to all of this was how the changes in the market, you know, the changes to automotive that we've discussed earlier, were going to affect the dealer model. So what does it look like? And we all know what the manufacturers are going through, and it's not a painless exercise trying to keep the old sausage machine running whilst building a completely new one that you don't even know is profitable. So we can build an electric car, but can we make money out of it? You know, all of those kind of questions. So they're juggling with all of that. But somewhere in all of that is there, what does all of this mean for the dealer body? You know, and there's been very little open dialogue from manufacturers in the sort of wider press about what their plans are. But we've heard one or two things. I think Volkswagen Group talked about maybe moving to a more of a sort of a distributor model where they would sell the cars, but they would pay the dealers a fee for preparing and delivering the cars and so on. But whatever it looks like, I'm quite sure when you look at the size and scale of some of the dealer groups now, they aren't literally going to sit there and wait for the manufacturers to tell them what the future looks like. They'll be looking at their own future and carving out their own niche, because when you look how heavily they've invested, I mean, the last thing you want to be told is, having spent 20 million on a new dealer site, that that's not the model anymore. You know, we went through the era of crazy retail standards, you know, where the showroom tiles and changed every few years, and you know, you were constantly asked to reinvest in the latest ID, and then being asked to build a massive dealership that you're then told is no longer the thing. So, you know, to an extent, I expect, you know, the big players to be very much looking at their own strategies and how they can influence things going forward, rather than just be influenced by it. But I think, you know, the smaller players or the medium-sized players need to be looking to those guys to see where they're going, as well as seeing what the manufacturers have to say.
So that is the end of part 2. Thank you so much for joining us. If you haven't already, make sure you're following us on Facebook, LinkedIn, all the usual social media platforms, and we will be back with Steve Nash in part 3.
Going anywhere, so I thought might as well make an effort.
I thought you always dressed like that.
Gloves at the ready. I've even got my cowboy hat to remind us of you, Steve.
Has anybody guessed?
No. We've got things like Robert Forrester, we've got Darren Edwards, we've got lots of names coming up, but not yours yet.
Oh, right, okay. Well, they're going to be disappointed if they were expecting Robert Forrester and Darren Edwards, but Steve Nash, okay, oh, well, fair enough.